All right. Big day tomorrow in the Trump deployments, particularly in Oregon and Chicago. In Chicago, the district court hearing is tomorrow to make an initial ruling on whether these deployments are, as we say in Chicago, kosher. And then the Court of Appeals is hearing the appellate having an appellate argument on the district court ruling there. So I don't know. We never know if there could be rulings from the bench or quick decisions, or we could end up waiting weeks for decisions. But for now, yesterday, a group of administration officials were in Portland. Today, yesterday and today, I believe, folks are in Chicago. Here is the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, on Fox and Friends talking about all of this.
And it's something that the reason why Director Patel and I were in Chicago yesterday was to address the leadership, that the federal law enforcement leadership that's doing everything they can on the ground to stop it. But we have organized efforts by domestic terrorists, and that's what they are, to do things like box in law enforcement's cars where they can't even move. And as we know from arrests that were made this weekend, some of these men and women that are boxing in these federal law enforcement officers are armed with heavy machinery. And so this is not a peaceful protest. And when those words are used, it's a shameful, because what we have going on right now is literally domestic terrorism in Chicago.
Sean, my view now is that unless there's an unfortunate incident where a federal official, active duty military or guard kills someone, or something really dramatic that's caught on camera, that this is all just preliminary action. We wait for the courts to adjudicate it. What do you think of that point of view?
I think that's fair. I will say, again, we've talked about this before. The reporting on this is one big blob, right? Trump sending troops, and this is where what we've talked about in the past matters. There's a difference. Federal agents, they're called 1811s. They are federally sworn law enforcement agents. They have authority. They can go wherever they want in the United States. Full stop, no, any day they want, right? So sending ICE or CBP or FBI isn't an issue. It's 100% allowed under current law, in the same way you would surge for any other law enforcement activity. The National Guard, as we've discussed, is a different beast. And I think one of the things that we've seen since the ruling in Los Angeles is the scope of what they're being told to do, which is to guard federal assets. I think the court is going to look favorably on, because they've recognized what the court has said in the past. So I think the big distinction on reporting that generally is coming out now is it's a big blob. Trump sending people to Chicago, Trump sending to Portland, and not understanding the nuance of who he's sending where to do what. That's where I think the courts are going to come in and do things in a very narrow, sort of surgical way that may rule for him or against him, but not affect the totality going forward.
Totally agree. Dan.
I don't disagree with the substance of what you're saying, but I think politically he's entering a danger zone. I think it is look, when he went into Washington and we talked about it was so unique, right? There's crime. Most people in DC said, in their polls and surveys said there's crime, and we're trying to make it safer, period, right? Carjackings and murders were being cited as declining. It didn't happen week over week. In Portland and Chicago, it's a little more amorphous. It's like, well, there's a crime problem and there's a homeless problem, but they're there for immigration. But then they're not yet moving on immigration. So we're amassing force and you're protesting force. So we need more, force. And I think they're beginning to run the risk of losing the general public support that doesn't pay a lot of attention to this stuff, that is okay with Trump in theory trying to crack down on crime. They support immigration kind of broadly, but they're looking at this increasingly kind of like this is getting out of control.
I say with respect, you could theoretically be right, but I see no indication that that's happening.
Well, actually, I would disagree, Mark. On every single poll, his immigration numbers are coming down dramatically.
Yeah,
and he's underwater.
But I don't know that. I don't know if it's because of this though.
Well, then what would it be for that's in the news that would drive the average person?
Oh, I think it's the deportation of people who are not, who haven't committed other crimes.
It's all of it. I think it's one big thing that you're out of control.
It would take a lot of data to convince me that putting a military force on the ground with the intent of dealing with immigration or protecting ICE or restoring order is going to be net unpopular. Take a lot of data to convince me that that would be net.
Well,
unpopular.
I'll flip it. I want to see data that it's net popular because his trend lines have been in one direction.
Just going back to my other point, I will say there is a danger here in how this is being perceived, because using National Guard for state duties, as we've discussed in the past, I know it's nuanced, but it's also doing some reputational damage. The idea we're not sending active duty military. These are not federal. This is not the Army. This is not the Marine Corps. These are active duty folks that are under the governor's auspices that the president is calling up. Again, I know that sounds nuanced, but reputationally, Dan, I'm actually kind of agreeing with you. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they've got to start making sure that there's a little bit more explanation behind what's happening and why, because I think everyone sort of saw DC for a million reasons and thought, hey, that's good. Chicago, again, I don't. Chicago is reputationally known for having a crime problem.
Yep.
I don't know that Oregon has this. When I don't think that much of Portland to begin with. Sorry, Portland. But I just have never known there's
Well,
a real big.
wait till you see what the president says about Portland and Antifa today at his 3:00.
All right. Well,
But you know what, though, Mark? Overarching all of this has been the stories that are. Here was the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. Trump does not want to talk about the economy and healthcare. And it said he wants to talk about immigration and crime because he thinks that's a better thing. It is starting to feel like he's finding ways to insert this into more of your life. And the average person says, that's not my number one priority. And that's his problem. That's part of the reason his numbers are going down.
Yeah, except there's
It's just
not
the raw politics of it.
except there's not an election for 13 months.
Yeah.
But do you disagree that he's searching for problems to redeflect public attention?
Oh, I think this is Trump.
No, I don't disagree. That's what he does.
This is
And he's done immigration and crime for 40 years.
right.
All right.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.